Hey everybody and welcome to Strangeplay. My name's Rik.
And I'm Simon.
And this is the gaming news recap for the for a point in March. We're recording this on March 15th. Usually we record on a Friday, but I'm going away for a few days. So if anything drops on the Friday that's really big and important, that's why we're not covering it today. We're going to go straight into it because a couple of these I know that Simon wants to talk about quite severely, so why don't you make a start on that?
Okay, so first up we've got Bluepoint Games. They've confirmed that their next game is going to be another remake, or a remaster, whatever you want to dub these things.
It'd be a remake, because it's like from the ground up, isn't it? So
Yeah. When asked if they were going to make an original game, Marco Thrush, the co-owner and president of Bluepoint, said, "Well, we could, but we're doing another remake. This project served us as a great point of growing the art team to the point where we could take on a full AAA game, major scope of art content."
Can I just say, that is a terrible sentence.
It is. It's a fucking right mouthful.
Yeah.
It goes on to say, so now our next step is let's improve the art pipeline, let's improve the engine, let's improve the workflow for artists, let's grow on the art side. Some more to handle our next project because it's a bit bigger. And our focus is, alright, let's work on design and add new stuff and get to the next remake, because now that can be our sole focus of making sure that where we put our time and everybody else, they're already at a level that where we can perform. Right? So they've not actually said what this game's going to be.
Nope.
But having worked on Shadow of the Colossus, which admittedly looks fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
It does. But the people that have played it, even the quite mild-mannered people that I've talked to that have played it, I mean, yeah, it controls like an absolute dog. So,
well, that's just in keeping with the original, because the original controlled like absolute shit as well.
But yeah, apparently it's not very good on your control aspect, and you think they'd have redone that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this, our next focus is working on design and adding new stuff, to the next remake. It sort of makes sense in that, they've looked at Shadow of the Colossus and gone, yeah, it's not very good, is it, from a control aspect, from a mechanical aspect. Yeah. And they're going to go back and sort of maybe focus on that for their next project. Speaking of which, what do you think it could be?
I have no idea.
Me either.
So, looking at the games that Bluepoint have done before, they just seem to be the kings of remakes, okay? So, Shadow of the Colossus is the new one, but they've also done Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection, Gravity Rush Remastered, Flower, Titanfall, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, Ico and the Shadow of the Colossus HD Collection. So this is the second time they've remade Shadow of the Colossus, which is interesting.
And they didn't make it any better,
no.
Just graphically higher fidelity.
They've done the God of War Collection and Blast Factor, whatever that is. So they do a lot of remakes. Yeah, remakes is their bread and butter. Now, what they have said in this is that the scope of the next remake is going to be bigger than Shadow of the Colossus. And Shadow of the Colossus, as far as scale goes, is quite a big game.
Yeah.
Most of these games seem to be like related to Sony first party stuff as well.
Yeah, we're just going to say that.
But it's interesting that they've done Metal Gear Solid, because Metal Gear Solid 4 is bigger than Shadow of the Colossus. That game is fucking huge as far as not so much scale, but like length and stuff. And it's also the only Metal Gear Solid game that's not had either a remake or an extended version.
Right.
So you know how like the first Metal Gear Solid was remade on the
GameCube. Wasn't it?
Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, had the, I can't remember the name of it was, but that had an extra version with like a skating game in it and stuff. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, had Subsistence. There's a possibility then that it could be Metal Gear Solid 4, but having said that, I can't see Konami letting them do it.
I think, just going back to the Sony link, I think it might be Killzone. Like a reimagining a Killzone or something like that, all in one. I mean, we're just fucking spitballing here. I don't think any of us are going to be right. I think it might be a bit left field, when it does eventually come to pass. So
it could be Infamous.
Oh fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a big game as well. Those games are fucking massive.
So if they've remade those to look like Second Son, that's a possibility.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but yeah, that's a definite possibility.
And it ticks all the boxes as well.
Yeah, totally. Time
will tell. It'll be interesting to see what it's going to be, but apparently we're going to be surprised.
Or not, if we've just guessed it. Anyway, enough of that Bluepoint rumour and speculation. What we got next?
Okay, so the next one is a bit of a kick in the teeth for Bioware, and that is that Drew Karpyshyn has left them for the second time. Now, if I'm correct, he left after Mass Effect 2, but then came back for the Old Republic, right?
Yeah, I think, it was definitely evolved in the Old Republic.
Yeah, but now he's left again. Like I said, this comes as a big blow to the company, as his credits are absolutely fantastic. They include games like Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect 1 and 2, and he's been working on Anthem for the last however long, which will be launching in spring 2019. In a direct quote, Drew said, "I know a lot of you are wondering why I'm doing this. For many people, working at Bioware would be their dream job and they can't imagine anyone stepping away from it. But it was time for me to move on. Everyone who works at Bioware pours their heart and soul into the games they are making. It's creatively demanding and, at times, exhausting. In the past, I've managed to juggle outside projects with my work at Bioware, but it always took a toll. And there were always outside projects I had to pass on because they would represent a conflict of interest with Bioware or EA properties. So I made the decision to step back, again, and focus on my freelance work. I'd love to say more about the novels I'm working on my graphic novel project, but those details will have to wait a while. I'm sure people will read more into this statement than there really is, but there's not much I can do about that. I know some people are going to dwell on the past, but that's not my style. I'm looking forward to a bright future and hope at least some of you will enjoy where this journey leads."
I've got a little bit to say about this as well. Yeah, it says, so it sort of contradicts itself here. It says he wants to work on solo projects, and then it says he's working for Fogbank. Right, one, make your fucking mind up, right? A lot of people sort of think that, you know, when a writer's writing for a game, that they're writing for the game, Joe, from, like, the start to the finish. And in many cases, that'd make sense, Joe, if we were making a one-off game. But that game happens to be Anthem that he's writing for, right? So, presumably, Anthem is what EA want as a game as a service. Joe, it's going to have an on-running story. So, that seems really peculiar to me, because presumably he'd want to, you know, it's his baby. He's going to nurture it through, you know, all the events and stuff, Joe, that are up and coming that obviously we don't know about yet. So I find that really, really fucking odd that Joe has chosen to do this. So what's happening at Anthem? Is it done? Has he written an whole story arc, Joe, that's going to go across, Joe, all the games as a service things that sort of, Joe, they run on from a week to a week basis? Or is it like, what's going on there? I'm really confused because, like, presumably they want that story to run 10 years, right?
They're probably just going to do something like what they've done with, say, Destiny or something, where you got your single player story or like your main campaign story, and then the rest of your stories come from add-ons and expansions. If he's written the core story and he's happy with the core story, then it's going to be up to the other people to just expand on it. But if he's done the thing and he's happy with it, then he's like, yeah, I've written this, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think that bodes well for the overall project of Anthem. I've got to be honest, I don't like the idea of, Joe, a lot of people chipping in to one story. It sounds like it's going to be confusing, you know, when you've got a lot of people adding to the pot.
But not really, because that's what your typical writer's room is. Like, take something like TV or a movie. More TV than a movie. But, like, take your favourite episode or something. That was written by a team of people who sit there and spitball, and everyone adds ideas to the pot, and then they're like, okay, Steve, you go and write it. So, even though it's credited to Steve as the dude who wrote it, it's actually the work of a shit ton of people sat around going, la. It's going to be no different with this. Like, I doubt he's going to be the only writer, especially on a project this big. So I don't think it's going to be that, you know, damaging to the game.
I get that. I get he's got a team of writers underneath him, Joe, that are sort of feeding him ideas. But at the end of it, he's the one that's sort of, you know, knocking it all up and making sure there's, Joe, no plot holes and it runs right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I could be totally wrong. I might be fucking worrying about nothing here. But yeah, I don't like the idea of that. What I do like the idea of, though, is this whole Fogbank thing.
What is Fogbank?
They belong to Fox Next, which are the 21st Century Fox dudes. So it's like their gaming division. And they're going to be doing, like, Telltale-like games.
Right.
So episodic Telltale games, like that sort of thing. From what I understand.
So, like, choose your own, well, kind of like point and clicky almost.
Yeah, the Walking Dead,
okay.
The Game of Thrones, the Batman games, that sort of thing, right? You look at how much IP Fox has. It's got The Simpsons, Futurama, Archer, Family Guy, all that fucking stuff is under that umbrella. So there could be potential there for some pretty fucking good story games. Just some story-driven games.
Unless this deal with Disney goes through and Disney decide that they don't want that division anymore.
Like they did with LucasArts. They're bastards.
Yeah, it looks good now, but it could potentially fall apart if the mouse decrees.
Right, what we got next?
Okay, this is some good news. Josef
Fares.
Josef Fares, the charismatic head of Hazelight and creative punch behind A Way Out, has come forward and said that EA won't make a penny off his game, citing that for all the stuff they've done for him, all profits made by the game will go directly back to the developer. They've not even questioned him on any of the decisions they've made, which is kind of mad when you think about how much they meddle in their own games. Case in point, Battlefront 2. And this is good news, you know, like it's nice to see that EA have the drive to allow someone like Josef to realise his creation and actually set some of the awful reputation they have with people who like games aside just this once. And this is really interesting as well, because if you go back to the it was the Game Awards, wasn't it, when he's doing the whole fuck the Oscars thing, he said that
he defended them. Yeah,
he defended them then, says that they've been great, they've been really supportive, they've just left him to it. And it's nice to see months later it follow through.
Yeah, it is. Apparently they've done this before as well, with other indie games show that they've sort of pushed through. I think this is the first time I've ever heard of it. It's only Joe come to life.
But he's quite outspoken, isn't he?
Well, I think that's a bit of an understatement. I'm really, really pleased though that they've actually, taken this route. Because like you say, it's getting a little bit of karma back for all the shit that they lost with the Battlefront 2 and the Need for Speed and the UFC and all the other shit, Joe, that they managed to fucking put on the discs and sell to us. It's nice to see that in this instance that they've not done that, which is really, really nice.
We're going to move on from that one because there's not really much else to say about it. And this next one is big. I know it's something that you wanted to talk about last week. And apparently some more news has come out. So why don't you take this one away? Okay,
so like Rick said, I was going to talk about this last week, but it got pushed out at the last minute. Zen Studios, the people that make the Pinball Effects games, came out a while back ago and said, okay, the Switch version of Pinball Effects 3 is going to run at 60 frames a second in handheld mode. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember the specific date, they reneged on this. They were like, nah, we can't do it. We don't have Java resources. No one's really asking for it. And it's just not going to happen, Sorry, guys. We made a promise that we can't back up. And of course, this fucking kicked a lot of ire up because, well, it needs to be 60 frames a second. It's a game that's based on, reactions. And it just don't float. And people were understandably pissed off with it. And it caused a bit of a backlash against Zen Studios for saying, Joe, they were going to do something, and then saying they weren't going to do it because it was too much work. They'd have to go and revisit each table and, retouch it. And that wasn't enough. Like, people were pissed off. And after the stink the community kicked up, Zen replied with this quote, and they said, "The community has spoken, and as we pride ourselves in doing at Zen Studios, we are listening. Zen is happy to confirm that we will in fact release a patch to bring all Pinball Effects 3 content to 60 frames a second in handheld mode on Nintendo Switch this summer. The time between now and then will be spent achieving 60 frames per second in handheld mode and 1080p Full HD in dock mode for all 30 plus tables in the library, plus testing and then publishing submissions to Nintendo. In the meantime, we still proudly stand by the current Switch iteration of Pinball Effects 3, which currently boasts a very respectable 83 Metacritic rating, and we will continue to release exceptional content in the months to come. As long-time followers of Zen well know, we have been one of the most community-friendly game developers for over a decade. We have focused on long-term relationships with players and have provided extra value, whether it be a brand new pinball game for free content, imports, or free DLC. We have always chosen to put players first. I hope you can all take this commitment to improving an already great game as a sign that Zen Studios truly values the players that support us, and we will continue to support you for the long term." Right, so I don't think it's right to congratulate them just yet. They've realised, that they've fucked up. They promised something, people had their hearts set on it, and then they pulled rug from out under the feet. Now going back on that and saying, actually, yeah, we will fucking, sort it out. We're going to get this 60 frames a second handheld mode stuff, locked in and, give you a comparable experience, to what people are playing on Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and PC, because that's what it should be like. That's honestly what it should be like. They should be comparable. And when that happens, come this summer, that's when we give Zen a pat on the back. This is a step in the right direction, though. I'm a really, really big fan of Zen Pinball's output. And honestly, if I have to wait extra time for more content so that Switch players, Joe, can get the game that they deserve, then I'm happy to do that. I don't mind if the next tables are, 6 months late. Because the people on Switch need to get a game that, works. And I'm not saying the current one doesn't work, because I honestly haven't played it. I've not spent a lot of time with the Switch, so I can't tell you if it's good, bad, or indifferent. But people have kicked up enough stink over it to, raise concerns. So obviously something's not right. And even though that's affecting the, the development of the game overall on the other platforms, I'm totally fine with that. I'd rather it be a good game across all platforms than, just be good in one place and shit elsewhere.
Ain't you nice?
Yeah, I'm a nice dude. Like Chuck D.
Well,
I knows I'm nice. And I think it's good that a company's like Joe gone back and listened and realised that it's fucked up. It's made a mistake and it's moving to correct them. And I believe that deep in my heart, that Zen Studios, Joe, it wants what's best for the player. They've always looked out for us. Like they say, Joe, in the above quote that I mentioned. They've always looked after the player. And that's a big draw to me. They're one of the few companies that I can go, oh, something's out, it cost me £8 or whatever. Yeah, I'll buy it. I'll just give them my money because I know that I'm in safe hands with them. They're not going to, provide me with shit or fob me off. And I think that they'll overcome this, blip of a bad decision because I truly believe that, they're going to make things right. They're not going to fuck it up. Like, they're one of those people, they're one of those companies that they love doing what they're doing, And setting this right is, I think it's hurt them, like, on a level, It's like, yeah, this ain't fucking right, and you've pissed us off. And it's, it's sort of, it's got to them on a level that's like, oh, man, we've pissed them off a little bit, we need to go rectify this issue.
Yeah. It's nice, well, I say it's nice, I mean, it's decent that they have gone back, but they shouldn't have said it in the first place, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Saying, like, we're going to do this, then going, oh, no, we're not. And then, after outrage, going, oh, hang on, yeah, maybe we are going to do this thing that we said we were going to do and then decided not to. Like, they should have just kept quiet about it, because then if people would have been like, oh, we want 60 FPS, and then they went, yeah, we're going to do it for you, that would look much better. So they probably should have just kept quiet about it.
Yeah, they actually promised the 60 frames per second, and then someone asked them, and then they were like, no, that's not happening, we don't have it. We don't have it in us to do it. And it was like, that was the old catalyst for this kicking off. Yeah. So I think they tried to sweep it under the rug at one point, and Joe, hope people forget, and that person on, I think it was Reddit, that asked them, and they were like, yeah, and that's, Joe, where it's all, splintered off from. But there's a lot of companies that have just been, yeah, fuck off. It is as it is, Oh,
no, that's true. That's completely true.
Quid pro quo. Or, no, what is it? Caveat emptor. Buyer beware. Like, it's fucking, you get what you fucking pay for. And that's it. So, yeah, at least they're fucking, they're going back and they're looking at it.
Well, that's it for the big news stories for this week. But there's a couple of honourable mentions that I want to bring up, because one of them just had amazing timing. And it's a bit of a follow-up to a comment that I made last week about how I really just want a new Splinter Cell game. And within days of me saying that, the Canadian Amazon site had Splinter Cell 2018 briefly listed. Now, this is very much like a grain of salt kind of situation, because listings for games pop up all the time that doesn't really mean anything. But it's definitely got my hopes up now. And I think at the most, we might see something about it at E3. If it's not at E3, I don't think we're getting it.
Oh, goddamn, can you imagine if this were Bluepoint's remake? A Splinter Cell collection.
That would be so good.
It fucking would be, yeah. I'd play the original ones again.
I think there's already a Splinter Cell HD collection on PS3.
Is there? I never played it. I played the Conviction and Rogue Agents.
Conviction's one of my favourite games.
What Rogue Agent? The bad one? That one were quite bad.
Double Agent.
Double Agent, that were it, yeah. That was a bit shitty, if I remember rightly.
Double Agent
was
the first Splinter Cell game that I played.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, I briefly played the original, but I couldn't get out of the training area because I kept rattling the chains. But then it wasn't until Conviction was coming out that I started to get an interest in the series.
Right.
Bought Double Agent on the 360 because it was the only one available on the 360, and I loved it because it was my first Splinter Cell. Then I went back and bought the first 3 on Xbox, and it cost me something like 50p, £1, and then £1.50. So I spent £3 and got the original 3. And yeah, then I played them in order, finished Chaos Theory like the day or two before Conviction came out, and then went straight into Conviction. So I spent a couple of weeks and I just played all of them.
Yeah.
And just massively fell in love with that series. And now Conviction, I can sit and just play it in a day. Like, I will happily sit there in one sitting and go through the story completely stealth. Like, I just love that game. Blacklist as well was amazing. It felt like a perfect combination of Chaos Theory and Conviction. It just felt like those two have been mushed together to create an amazing gaming experience. It's just a shame that Michael Ironside wasn't doing the voice for Sam Fisher. But I hope he comes back. So I really do hope that we get a follow-up to Blacklist, and I hope that Ironside comes back to voice him.
I'm just happy that we're getting a serious stealth game, like not hiding in plain sight or not, like arcadey style stealth, like proper stealth. Like,
yeah, and that's the appeal to it. And the second follow-up story that I want to mention is that Shadow of the Tomb Raider has been announced. And I wanted to mention it because a few days ago, a counter appeared on the Tomb Raider website, and it was counted down to something. But a quick look in the HTML code lets people see that it was for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that there was an announcement, there's a release date, and all this stuff. And then today, officially, and in a tweet off the official Tomb Raider, it reads, "Experience Lara Croft's defining moment as she becomes the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider will be revealed April 27th, available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and PC on September the 14th, 2018. So both of these stories, one complete speculation, one little bit of a teaser, but we will be talking about them in much greater depth when more news on either arises. But because they were some of the smaller stories, but kind of important, I just wanted to bring them up. Also,
I've got a little bit of a chip in that one to go here. Call of Duty for the first time is not releasing in November, it's releasing in October. If you go back a couple of episodes, when I was talking about Red Dead Redemption being released when it is, I'd say that big games are going to get moved.
Yeah.
And, of course, I'm right, because I am gaming Nostradamus. You don't need fucking anyone else. Just come here. We know everything. Apart from what Bluepoint's next game is. Or Bluepoint's next game is. and I knew that Jack Thompson won't get involved with...
He tried to... He tried to get involved, but he got shut down.
Denied.
Yeah.
Killstreak ended.
So, I guess that means I'm going to be making a Bloodborne video, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, you've got that to look forward to.
But yeah, keep your eye out in the next couple of weeks for my Bloodborne video, which is going to be marvellous. And with that being said and done, that is it for this week's Gaming News Recap. If you'd like to talk to us about any of the stories we've mentioned, then please leave a comment below, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/StrangePlayUK, or reach out to us on Twitter @StrangePlayUK. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.